Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Siva. I work for Advanced Manufacturing Research Center in UK. Even before I go into the detail, I would say that even though we sound like we are looking to lead a consortium, we are also open to join another consortium. So distributed manufacturing is part of a larger problem, particularly UK, but I know it's also same for the whole Europe and even globally. So supply chain maintenance is very difficult because if you look for a very large aerospace or automobile company, these larger companies are always on the top, but there is about like a 60% of the business runs through the supply chain. So you could buy a product, integrate it, and then put it together as an aeroplane or a car. But then, you know, the nuts and bolts go into these. They are all provided by a smaller company or, you know, a group of companies in the rest of the world. So the supply chain technology or supply chain integration is quite fragile. We learned it in the last 10 years. Let's not talk about Brexit, why we've done it, but it's one of the things, and it's a well-known thing that the supply chain needs to be well integrated. One of the fundamentals for integrating the supply chain is data integration. So we try to look for technologies that can solve the data integration problem. The 5G, 6G, network slicing, security and everything, the technology starts to exist. It is there. We over the last few years, we've proven the technology is capable of solving these problems, but we are now in a situation to go back and then get the business cases in manufacturing industry. They can utilize these technologies. Particularly, I'm quite interested about this concept called manufacturing servitization. So you offload your manufacturing process, a specific part of your manufacturing process, to another partner, subcontractor, somewhere else in the world, but you still rely on them to deliver their work. How can you quality control? How can you operate? How can you reliably trust this partner? How are we going to use a technology like 5G or 6G to do this one? So that's the scope we are trying to look here. Ideally, we would like to build a cross-border, like a multinational testbed or multinational project where, you know, you can showcase the real-world scenario. Something comes from Spain, something comes from Turkey, and all links together as a supply chain. AMRC is a research organization. We are owned by University of Sheffield, but it's like if anybody knows Kit Kat and Nestle, everybody knows Kit Kat. It's only those turn around, they will see the Nestle. So we are kind of Kit Kat. So we don't sell the University of Sheffield branding all the time, but we are owned by University of Sheffield. Apart from that, we are a group of 125 plus companies. So they range from really big companies like British Aerospace Engineering to Boeing, Airbus, to very small companies as well. So we do have a number of priority areas: sustainability, productivity, and digitalization. I come from the digitalization side. So all of our 5G works. So we have a 5G testbed with Nokia. So this is done with IBM, Nokia, and British Aerospace. So we have that testbed and we have our spectrum. So the work we're trying to do is going to go under the digitalization banner. So essentially what we are thinking, we will have a cloud-based ecosystem, so partners can, the supply chain members can be, connecting to that cloud or kind of a larger interconnected network. Even though your business premises are far away, you're all coming into a virtually connected network. So you're really close together. It's all about data trust. Can somebody try to inject a bogus component or counterfeit into this one? Can we develop trust over the data? Also, how about a larger company developing a unique technology? They don't want to tell anybody else how they make it, but they want that to be made somewhere else. So that means, without sharing the technology, the core knowledge, can you still manufacture it somewhere else? Because that's how all the businesses run. If it's too difficult to product, then they will try to do it in a local place. Then that means there's a critical supply chain problem, because that's a failure point. Other people cannot make it, but you still need to make it. So can we use 5G and all of this real-time communication to do that? So something like, can we have a tooltip visibility? If a 3D printer or machine doing a cut, can we control the tooltip from UK, from Germany, even though it's been manufactured in another part of the world? Can you do that? Can you maintain a trust? Can you quality control? Is this part not compromised? Somebody is trying to cover up the failure. Can we protect all of them? Cybersecurity is another one. How do we control compromisation in a part of a network that's going to have a snowball effect and then create big problems over the larger supply chain? So ideally, we would like to demonstrate a variety of technologies, but as a platform. So collectively, they provide a solution for supply chain orchestration, and also a test bed to test and prove the technology. So technically, we would like to look at 3 major areas: cloud-based manufacturing, digital rights protection. This is what I was talking about, sharing the work without sharing the IP. Pop-up factories is another one, like wind turbines is a very good example. The product itself is reasonably larger than the factory. So can you just go and deploy a factory, but you set up everything around it? So that's pop-up factory. Cloud CNC. CNC is very traditional operation, but it's still innovative. Can you control a machine through cloud? As I said in the beginning, we would like to have the visibility of a spindle that's spinning at high speed from another part of the world. We already have some of these technologies, like 5G. Within our testbed, we are starting to test open RANs and all of them. Some of them are not available in UK. Maybe it's available in other countries, like network slicing. So technology piece and the actual demonstrations, but essentially this is not a fundamental research. We would like to showcase the business benefits, so an impact. So where can we save money, or where can we add value? So supply chain resilience, carbon footprint reduction, waste reduction, faster market response. Also the skill sets problem. So some skill sets are around a part of the world, and some skill sets are not there. So can we use a global skill set to address the whole thing? We are looking for partners. It could be manufacturers, any scale, larger, smaller, technology vendors, anybody who has access to public spectrums. Private spectrum is fine as well. We do have private testbeds already in UK. We're not really worried about the size of the business. As long as they can add a very good value, we are good. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a question from the audience? No. I have a question. Did you already collect feedback from industries if they would like to use distributed manufacturing? And if so, what would be the main obstacles that you need to cover?
In our current test bed, there is about like 90% of them are industry anyway. So so the feedback element is like distributed manufacturing nationally is very important. It's been recognized through a number of researchers and all of them. We cannot rely on one specific supplier doing one thing. That's a very fragile model. That's the bottleneck. If anything happens to that supplier,
so feedback is positive from industry directly, or you have not yet?
I don't get it.
Feedback. Did you got positive feedback from the industry that they
to
are
accept
wanting
this supply? Yes.
That's
well,
great.
particular industries will resist, but as a global or national agenda, everybody accepts. You need to diversify. Particularly the appreciation comes from the tier 1 larger organizations, because they've been hit by the smaller SMEs getting affected or collapsing, and then they have a snowball effect affecting them. So the larger OEMs always appreciate you need to diversify, and you need to have redundancy in the supply chain and the distribution.
Okay.
Christiane, I have one question.
Cool.
Have you considered free ports? I know in the UK, that's one of the topics in the UK, the free ports, where you enter with goods, you transform them, and you go out without crossing the border officially. You could imagine that distributed manufacturing could be applied to free ports.
Absolutely, yeah.
There is a project in Bristol around virtual free ports.
Yeah.
You could have that, and with European partners, you could imagine having ports and industry zones and manufacturing potentialities between the different ports and so on. So that would be just a question and a recommendation possible.
We are aware of this, the ports works happening. Even though I'm talking about manufacturing, we are quite open. So it's like contracts, smart contracting. So what you're saying is like some kind of a smart contracting. So you bring the asset at a certain point and they hand it over to another border. We call it chain of custody as well. How do you maintain the custody throughout the supply chain? Yeah, it is definitely an option. Thank you.
Good. Thank you.